If you hear this is fake news, it's not real, this is real. Receipts for credit card purchases are rarely provided.
CNN has uncovered explosive emails revealing a police chief allegedly betraying Mayor Tiffany Henyard, raising questions about the future of her administration. In a shocking development, Chief Louis Lacey of Dolton has been arrested, marking a potential turning point for Henyard, often dubbed Dolton's super mayor. This situation could signal the beginning of the end for her purported empire of corruption. Lacey, one of Henyard's closest allies, faces serious charges that could lead to significant prison time. He has been indicted for lying under oath to conceal his assets and income, avoiding payment on a $440,000 lawsuit settlement. The charges include bankruptcy fraud, making false statements in a bankruptcy case, and perjury, each carrying up to 5 years in prison. At 61, Lacey recently appeared in court in a blue suit, where his attorney, Gal Petty, entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. However, Lacey was ordered to surrender his service weapon and other firearms, a decision Petty plans to contest. Although these charges are not directly related to Lacey's role as police chief, they add fuel to an ongoing federal investigation into Henyard's alleged corruption. This indictment marks yet another blow to the mayor, who has faced multiple federal subpoenas this year. Petty argued that the charges against Lacey are part of a broader scheme aimed at discrediting Henyard, framing it as a witch hunt targeting Lacey to bring down the mayor. Following the indictment, Dolton's trustees placed Lacey on indefinite administrative leave, a move Petty is contesting, insisting that the trustees lack the authority to make such a decision. He emphasized that only the mayor has control over Lacey's paychecks, highlighting the deep intertwining of Lacey's and Henyard's power. Lacey's financial troubles are not new. He has a history of personal bankruptcy filings dating back to the 1980s. His most recent filings in 2019 and 2020 allowed him to delay paying a settlement from a 2017 lawsuit involving a woman whose husband was killed in 2012. The lawsuit alleged that Lacey had convinced her to give him tens of thousands from her husband's life insurance payout. While he admitted to showing sympathy and checking on her well-being, he denied taking any money. The lawsuit ultimately settled for $55,000, but the fraud charges indicate a troubling pattern of deception. Lacey allegedly filed for bankruptcy twice to avoid paying a remaining $43,000, concealing his income and controlling multiple bank accounts. He even misrepresented his marital status, falsely claiming his wife did not live with him, which allowed him to reduce his reported income and avoid creditors. This is not an isolated incident, but could represent the beginning of the unraveling of a corrupt system allegedly built by Henyard. The indictment is a pivotal moment for Dolton, with many believing it signals that justice may finally be served. Lacey's ties to Henyard run deep. He isn't just any police chief, but one of her closest allies. He has reportedly helped her carry out illegal activities, including extorting local businesses and intimidating political opponents, while providing private security for the mayor and her associates. Lacey's indictment represents a significant crack in Henyard's inner circle. If he chooses to cooperate with investigators to mitigate his potential prison sentence, he could expose critical details about how Henyard has allegedly abused her power and misused the Dolton Police Department. The implications of this case extend far beyond Lacey's personal troubles. It threatens to unravel the entire framework of Henyard's administration. As the legal proceedings continue, the political landscape of Dolton hangs in the balance. Will Lacey's cooperation lead to further revelations about Henyard's alleged corruption? Or will the mayor manage to maintain her grip on power despite these troubling developments? The answers to these questions could determine not just the fate of Henyard's political future, but also the integrity of local governance in Dolton. The coming weeks will be crucial as this story unfolds, and all eyes will be on the courtroom and the potential fallout in the community.
You have a significant security detail. First of all, how large is your police department in Dolton, and what is your security detail?
So we have about 45 officers in our village. My security is warranted due to the fact of threats and things of that nature, but what people are not stating is it's in our CBA. That's our collective bargaining agreement. That's our union contract. So it comes with a seat. That's what people are not saying. I didn't make this up. I didn't just create this and say,
Lacey's potential cooperation with investigators could signal the beginning of a series of betrayals within Mayor Tiffany Henyard's administration. Whispers suggest that others may be ready to turn against her, with some individuals reportedly speaking out as early as 6 months ago. One notable defector is Robert Collins, the former police chief of South Suburban Dolton, who has publicly criticized Henyard's controversial use of security detail. Collins revealed that Henyard's excessive demands for personal protection severely hindered his ability to effectively manage crime in the community. He noted that these demands placed a tremendous burden on the police force, diverting valuable resources away from patrols in high-crime areas where they were most needed. The situation worsened in 2023 when a Fox 32 investigation highlighted the enormous taxpayer costs associated with Henyard's security detail, primarily due to substantial overtime incurred to meet her security needs. This report underscored how officers, who should have been serving the broader public, were instead reassigned to protect the mayor, resulting in a significant drain on both financial resources and manpower. Under Collins' leadership, the Dolton Police Department was already grappling with high crime rates and limited personnel. The situation became increasingly critical as officers were pulled from their regular duties to ensure Henyard's safety. This misallocation of resources created a dilemma, leaving the department unable to maintain a proper balance between addressing public safety and fulfilling the mayor's personal security demands. Officers were frequently reassigned to protect Henyard rather than deployed to areas where violent crime was rising, exacerbating the strain on an already overstretched police force. The diversion of resources not only jeopardized community safety, but also fostered frustration within both the police department and the community. Collins's decision to break his silence reflects the growing cracks within Henyard's administration and the increasing dissatisfaction with her leadership. His testimony raises serious questions about the mayor's priorities and how her personal demands have negatively impacted community welfare. While Collins may not be the first to signal dissent within Henyard's inner circle, his willingness to speak out after leaving his position indicates that more revelations could emerge from others who have remained silent. Collins' account underscores a broader issue. Henyard's leadership has diverted crucial police resources away from public safety, potentially contributing to the rise in crime in Dolton. As the community grapples with the implications of these decisions, Collins' public revelations may embolden others within Henyard's administration to step forward and expose further wrongdoing, which could threaten the mayor's hold on power. After being dismissed by Henyard late last year, Collins relocated to Florida, expressing deep frustration over the significant challenges he faced as police chief in Dolton, where the department was already understaffed and overworked. He was further burdened by Henyard's demands for an extensive personal security detail, stressing that officers were critically needed on the streets to combat rising crime, but were frequently reassigned to chauffeur the mayor. This situation, he deemed unacceptable, highlighted the need for accountability within the administration. Investigations later revealed that Dolton police officers spent considerable time driving Henyard to various locations, including her second taxpayer-funded position as Thornton Township Supervisor in South Holland. Public records showed that these officers racked up hundreds of overtime hours, costing Dolton taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. In a small town like Dolton, which has a population of just over 20,000 and grapples with economic challenges, this financial strain raised serious concerns. Collins pointed out that Dolton often had only a few officers on duty during any given shift, which meant that those officers were critically needed elsewhere to handle public safety concerns. Initially, Henyard's security detail was justified in 2021 following a police-involved shooting that triggered protests and threats against her. Collins acknowledged that during this period of heightened tension, a security detail for Henyard was necessary. However, as protests subsided and threats diminished, the security detail not only persisted but expanded significantly. This expansion raised red flags for Collins, who soon realized that officers were being diverted from essential public safety duties to perform tasks far removed from legitimate security needs. Officers were increasingly assigned to run errands, pick up and drop off items, and chauffeur Henyard to personal engagements, rather than focusing on their primary responsibilities. This misuse of police resources became a contentious issue, draining the department's already limited manpower and leaving fewer officers available to patrol the streets or respond to community safety needs. Henyard's extensive security demands compounded the challenges the department faced, stretching its resources thin at a time when crime was on the rise. Collins grew increasingly frustrated as his efforts to address the issue internally were met with resistance and no meaningful change. The ongoing demands on police personnel to serve Henyard's personal needs, rather than focusing on broader public safety, created a significant strain on the department's ability to fulfill its primary mission. Ultimately, Collins' frustration boiled over, contributing to his decision to speak out after his dismissal. His revelations cast a harsh spotlight on the broader issues within Henyard's administration, particularly the questionable allocation of police resources and the detrimental impact on public safety in Dolton. Collins' testimony raised serious questions about Henyard's leadership priorities and the potential consequences of diverting officers from critical law enforcement duties to cater to the mayor's personal needs. Furthermore, Henyard's extensive security detail not only racked up substantial overtime costs, but also incurred thousands of dollars in travel expenses as police officers were tasked with accompanying her on out-of-town trips. Collins openly questioned the necessity of assigning officers to protect Henyard in distant locations where the likelihood of legitimate threats seemed minimal. He argued that this diversion of officers made it nearly impossible for him to address the pressing crime issues plaguing Dolton. For instance, he pointed to a February shooting on SI Boulevard that left 4 people injured, suggesting that the tragedy could have been mitigated if more officers had been available for street patrols. Collins emphasized the significant challenges Dolton faces with gangs, firearms, and illegal substances, all of which require a strong, visible police presence to maintain control over crime. He warned that low police visibility emboldens criminals who feel they have reduced chances of being caught. This, he believed, was a direct consequence of Henyard's excessive use of police resources for her personal protection, ultimately undermining community safety. The mayor's security detail became a growing source of contention as Collins highlighted the strain it placed on Dolton's already limited police force, which often operates with only a handful of officers on duty during any given shift. Losing personnel to non-essential tasks like chauffeuring the mayor or accompanying her on out-of-town trips further weakened the department's capacity to maintain public safety. The financial burden of these travel expenses, compounded by the significant overtime costs, added additional strain to Dolton's tight budget, raising questions about whether taxpayer dollars were being used responsibly. When a Fox 32 investigative team attempted to question Henyard about her use of the police detail, Dolton Village Administrator Keith Freeman intervened, blocking the camera and preventing the mayor from responding. This incident fueled speculation about her leadership and decision-making. Collins' revelations shed light on a broader issue of misallocated resources within Henyard's administration, sparking public concern over the priorities of her office and the impact her decisions have had on Dolton's already struggling police department. As Collins' account and others like it gain traction, the potential for further fallout within Henyard's administration looms large. The implications of these allegations could fundamentally reshape the political landscape in Dolton and bring about much-needed scrutiny of Henyard's leadership and governance practices. As the community continues to grapple with rising crime and resource allocation issues, Collins' testimony may serve as a catalyst for change, encouraging others to come forward and shed light on the extent of the mismanagement and corruption that may have defined Henyard's tenure. The unfolding narrative presents an opportunity for accountability and a reevaluation of priorities in Dolton, ultimately aiming to restore public trust and safety in the community.
Those officers to be on the street fighting crime, and instead we have several officers that are riding around protecting the mayor.
Collin recently faced a significant challenge when he felt compelled to comply with orders that conflicted with his principles. Last week, he initiated a civil lawsuit against the village of Dolton, alleging wrongful termination. Collin claims that Mayor Tiffany Henyard dismissed him without valid cause or board approval, suggesting that the firing was politically motivated due to his wife's connections with some of Henyard's political opponents. His attorney, Richard Blast, a respected expert in police matters, argues that Collin's termination was illegal. Blast emphasized that Collin, a seasoned law enforcement professional, was unjustly removed from his position by Henyard, who holds dual roles as both the mayor and the police chief. Collin is a patrolman at heart, according to Blast, and he maintains that his dismissal was wholly unjustified. This case has drawn further attention to the allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard's administration. She stands accused of operating a pay-to-play scheme, allegedly stripping business licenses from those who refuse to contribute to her charity. These claims have led to accusations of kickbacks and bribery, leaving local businesses feeling coerced into financially supporting the mayor's personal agenda just to keep their doors open. Many Dolton business owners believe they are under pressure to endorse Henyard's initiatives, further exacerbating tensions within the community. In addition to the pay-to-play allegations, Henyard is also facing scrutiny for allegedly misusing taxpayer funds in extravagant and inappropriate ways. Reports suggest she financed a personal ice skating rink, a luxury many Dolton taxpayers view as excessive, especially in a community where many residents are struggling financially. To compound matters, Henyard has been accused of using public funds to promote her image, including placing her face on 22 billboards across the city. This self-promotion, funded by the very people she is meant to serve, has heightened public frustration. The controversy extends further, with Henyard reportedly paying tens of thousands of dollars monthly to a public relations firm to revamp her image. This task is monumental, given the growing scrutiny she faces, and residents are increasingly concerned about how taxpayer dollars are being used to polish her public persona, particularly as the community grapples with real economic hardships. Henyard's dual role as both mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township adds to concerns about her administration, leading many to question whether she can effectively manage both positions. As investigations into Henyard's activities continue, the allegations against her are mounting, raising serious questions about her leadership and the future of Dolton. The situation remains tense, and as more revelations come to light, it seems the controversy surrounding Henyard is far from over. Colin recounted the challenges he faced when attempting to raise concerns with Keith Freeman, only to have them dismissed as irrelevant. This dismissal illustrates the growing sense of discontent within the administration. The ongoing legal battle and the mounting allegations against Henyard underscore a climate of uncertainty in Dolton. As public scrutiny intensifies, the fallout from these controversies could reshape the political landscape, prompting further investigations and potential accountability measures. The combination of Colin's wrongful termination lawsuit and the mounting allegations of corruption paints a troubling picture of governance in Dolton. As residents demand transparency and accountability, the pressure on Henyard's administration is likely to escalate. The future of Dolton hinges on the outcomes of these revelations and the community's response to the ongoing turmoil. Colin's case could be a turning point, not just for him, but for the integrity of Dolton's leadership. If his claims are substantiated, it could lead to broader investigations into Henyard's administration, potentially uncovering more troubling practices that could shake the foundation of her governance. As the situation develops, the people of Dolton are left to navigate the implications of these controversies, questioning the effectiveness and ethics of their leaders.